What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Retro Game Redux Podcast, live edition. We back.
How you doing?
I'm doing so great. It's so nice to be talking to you in a podcast format.
Right?
I like talking to you as a friend, but
absolutely.
Imagine if we could talk as if it were a like some sort of a radio show.
Right? Live in front of our studio audience.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah, it's been quite a while since we did this kind of thing. And since we released, what was the last episode? Was it this summer?
Yeah, I think it was during June or July. We took a break, had a couple of things happen in our lives. I won't go into detail really, but we finally have the time to actually get back into doing this show. And we decided, instead of doing the same thing over and over again, why not switch it up here for our return, so to speak. So we came up with the idea of doing it live and with our people on Twitch, and I think we're also going to be doing it on YouTube as well.
I feel like I should sort of own that idea, like, for better or worse. I think I forced it on you a little bit because, as much as I loved doing the show before, the reason that we hadn't done more of them is just because they take so long to edit. And, I'm so picky about, like, oh, did I say or too much? And I just wanted to do away with any of the potential for me to obsess over every word I say.
Yeah.
So thus we do it live and no editing.
Yeah. From an editor's perspective, it was kind of a nightmare to edit. It took like several hours, if not a day or so, just to get the things cut out and nitpicked and whatnot. So yeah, it's I think this will be a much easier thing to manage.
Kirb, I feel like you're saying and too much. I'm gonna have to cut that out in post. Oh wait, there's no post.
There's no post. We're live.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more fun this way. And
yes, I agree.
I think there's something special about live, just like going for it.
Plus, we get to interact, so to speak, with our audience too, and I think that'll make it a lot more special.
Yeah. So, welcome all you viewers who are viewing and listening to the podcast, and hope you'll still listen again on your, in your car or whatever it is that you listen to this show. But it's going to be fun to do it live. We're going to do it on my channel for a little bit, and then I think we're going to move over to a YouTube channel, which I think is kind of the most accepted podcast format these days.
So. I would think so, yeah.
Isn't that weird?
By the way, I'm going to link this into our chat here for those who are watching. Might as well go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel while we get things set up here. So that way, when we start going live, you'll be subscribed, ready to go, and it's all set.
Nice. So, Kirb, let's get right into it. What have you been playing lately? Have you been playing any games?
I have been playing several games. Definitely, I've been playing Super Mario RPG, the remake specifically. That's been something that we've been that I've been very much looking forward to since the announcement. I pre-ordered the same day that pre-order started.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk to you about that because I have some questions. I played the original about 3 years ago. I loved it, but yeah, maybe you can convince me why I should buy the new version when we get to it.
Perhaps, yeah, definitely. I hope to be able to do so. Yeah, we'll talk about that later for sure.
So, Super Mario RPG, anything else you've been playing?
I've been actually getting into F-Zero mods for the first time.
Okay, so let's talk about that later.
We definitely have some time to talk about that for sure.
I want to know about these F-Zero mods. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I played 3 mods, and I definitely have some things to share with you all about that.
Cool. Well, I mean, you know what I've been playing. You've been watching my streams off and on, and
I have, yes.
I just finished a pretty challenging for me Super Mario World hack called Mycelium.
Mycelium, yes.
Yeah, Kaizo ROM hack by Schema Tuna, who is people are calling it Hack of the Year, which is exciting, and so I wanted to play it, and I'll share my thoughts about that later on. And also, I mean, Super Mario Wonder came out.
Yes, it did
a while back, and I gladly ate that up. What a treat that was to play. And Metal Gear Solid 2 of all things.
Yes, this one I was surprised that you would that you decided to play this. It's like it's been so long since I've played this game. I still love it, but I was very surprised when I saw it on your channel. I'm like, what's going on here? I got to see what's going on. And
so, why does that surprise you?
So I didn't think you were the type to play a game like Metal Gear Solid.
What do you mean by that?
I didn't think like espionage, like sneaking type of games were your style, and I guess I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, let me just say that, like, I guess this channel, like my stream, has always been about, I guess, just expanding my horizons. Maybe just like going out of my comfort zone a little bit, because most of the games I play, I've never played before, and everyone else has. So, I hate that I've, in doing that, I've maybe gained a reputation as a bit of a salty gamer. And Metal Gear Solid, no other game pushes my buttons like that series has done thus far.
So, what specific buttons can you share with us that it seemed to push?
Okay, I would say the buttons, the frustrate button, that gets pushed a lot.
Okay.
Where Metal Gear Solid, it's very I would say demanding on what it asks you to do.
Okay.
And if you're not good at that, if you're just learning how to do that, you're gonna die a lot. And every time you die, there's this big fanfare, like the death song.
Yeah. Yep, it's a very famous game over screen for sure.
I feel like I've heard that song quite a bit lately, so that's frustrating.
Turns into the bad version of an earworm at some point.
Yeah, and like the other thing is, like, I don't have a lot of patience to begin with video games. So sneaking about and trying not to get caught. Like I soon learned that, like, I can't just face tank through this game.
No.
And so I tried to do what the game was asking as best as I could. And then I feel like this game started trolling me a little bit. Like, why don't you just turn the console off? And there's all this what is reality kind of like fourth wall stuff that
the existential
Kojima loves to do in this game. Somebody called MGS2 Kojima at his most unhinged.
You know what? I would actually agree with you. That was Kojima was on some sauce. Let me tell you, I had a feeling that he's probably on some sauce with with Metal Gear overall. But Metal Gear Solid 2 is definitely the tip of the iceberg. As far as his unhingedness, I would agree with you on that.
The tip of the iceberg? I would say it's the whole fucking iceberg.
Did I use that wrong? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that it. Well, what's actually interesting is that Kojima at the Game Awards revealed his new project with Jordan Peele.
Yes,
a new movie. Some media format called Overdose.
And
Jordan Peele was like, Metal Gear Solid 2 changed my life, and like blah blah blah, and it just made me think, like, I wish I played the game back then, so I could have the nostalgia that everyone else kind of does.
See, I didn't play Metal Gear Solid 2 when it first came out. I played it about 7-8 years later.
So when the remaster came out?
No, I actually played an actual copy. I borrowed it from a friend.
Yeah.
Because I was at a friend's place, and it's like, Metal Gear Solid 2. I've heard so much about it. I never played it. It's like, dude, take it and play it.
Yeah.
So I did.
So you had the same sort of basically like we approached it from the same place. And
yeah, just about.
And how did you find it?
I found that I found that I really loved it. I even loved the mind screw near ending, the existentialism. I actually kind of found it fascinating because I'd never seen that type of storytelling done in a video game before.
Right.
You know, especially with the narrative. I'd never seen that portrayed in a video game before until then.
You know what it is, I think, is and this goes for a lot of games I play. I probably would have had a better time if I weren't being watched by by a bunch of other people who loved the game already.
We're being stared at by the eyes of the internet. Yeah.
I guess I feel self-conscious. And you know, I'm hoping that I have the reaction of this game is awesome. And I did. Like, I'm not saying anything like Metal Gear Solid 2 was great. I just think it was very challenging to get through. And it demanded a lot of my not just patience, but like just to give it a wide enough berth to do what it wanted to do, storytelling wise, and just you know, fourth wall wise, to let me just, you know, I wanted to experience it without judging it immediately. But yeah, I'm glad I played it. I'll do 3 at some point, but I just need a break. Like, it was a very hard game to stream.
A well-deserved break. Did you play the first Metal Gear Solid?
I played it 3 years ago. That's how long it took for me to want to do number 2.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
I wasn't sure if you'd played the first one.
Yeah. So 2026, Metal Gear Solid 3. Count on it.
All right.
So I have a couple things I want to talk about. So I guess we're going to do my topics and then your topics.
Sure. That sounds good.
So I really want to talk about Wonder. I loved playing Super Mario Wonder so much. Have you played that yet?
No, I'm hoping to get it as a bit of a Christmas gift.
Okay, yeah.
And if I don't do that, then I'll definitely get the game and I'll play it. I was kind of waiting to see if someone would get it for me for Christmas. You know, kind of a holiday gift to me.
Maybe Santa is going to leave it under the tree for you.
Right? Yep, got it on my wish list.
Okay, well, here's hoping. Here's hoping. Curb's been a good boy this year. So what I'll say is that, you know, I've played Mario games more than pretty much any other game. It was my first love. NES, SMB1, you know, it was the only game I had for about a year when I first got the Nintendo. You know, as most, I grew up playing the games, and they were some of the only games that I played, you know, up until 2020 when I decided to play every other game. Mario Maker, all that. And like, first, let me just say, like, it's probably the happiest game I've played in ages. Like, the game just really wants you to have a good time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, why do you think that? It's like, okay, so it wants you to have a good time. It's like, is there anything in particular that stands out in that?
Well, I mean, I think just everything is just so lighthearted, and it's not meant to be more challenging than you can handle. And like, the example I'll give is, I played it by myself, and then I played it with my 2 nephews.
Okay.
And I had just as much fun playing with them, and we weren't they had no interest in getting all the extra coins and all the sort of achievement based things. They just wanted to see the end of the level, however it happened. And if something was too hard, they'd be glad to use whatever, you know, power ups and, you know, Uncle Scuba, can you beat this level for us, kind of thing. So, you know, as evidenced by its family game of the year win, like, it's really a game for everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just rushed through it. I just ate it up so readily. I think the level design is really, really well done. But here's what I was thinking. Like the entire time, I couldn't help but notice how similar a lot of these levels were to levels I'd seen, like fan created levels in Mario Maker and Super Mario World Romhacks, especially.
Oh, really?
And I just can't help but wonder, like, was Nintendo influenced by the fan levels and the fan games?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if like any of the developers or the programmers or who worked on the game at some point may have made ROM hacks in the past or experimented or released some famous ones. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if the people who grew up playing these games, put their nostalgia on full display with these levels.
It's hard for me to imagine somebody who grew up as a ROM hacker or whatever eventually getting a job at Nintendo. I feel like that would be vetted right out of the hiring pool. Have you ever played any illegal versions of our games? Well, oh yes, no. I love this ROM hack. Get out! Get out! Police! Security!
How dare you?
Like Nintendo is not having that. But I just wonder if, like, as they were perusing the DMCA takedown list or whatever, they're like, what's this Grand Poo World? What does that look like? What? Who made this game?
How do they approach it?
Wait a minute. So a lot of things like there's these challenge rooms where you get a couple power-ups and then you have to beat like 3 or 4 waves of enemies for a time. And to me, that seems something right out of Mario Maker. But also the thing that I thought, the influence was there, I thought, just a guess. But the other thing I thought was, I wonder if they're planning either a Mario Maker 2 DLC or a Mario Maker Super Mario Wonder Maker.
Oh, man.
How awesome would that be?
Oh my gosh, hey, surprise update to Mario Maker 2, give that game some well-deserved longevity, to include assets for Wonder.
I don't think that they would put it in such an old game as Mario Maker 2, because Mario Maker 2 came out in 2019, was it? 2020? 2019, I think. So to me, it's like they would release a new game, or they might release DLC for this game. There's got to be a maker component to this at some point. Like all the parts just seem very modular, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Maybe it'll be its own, like a DLC mode or something.
Could be.
It could be done.
I would love to make a couple levels and play some fan levels in the Wonder engine.
Oh, that would be so good.
And Kirb, you got to try it. I'm serious.
I will.
It's great. But yeah, it was funny to go from that game to playing Mycelium, which is like, I would say an equally good game, but like 3 or 4 orders of magnitude more demanding
than Mario Wonder.
Yeah, like I think I spent 2 hours on the first level.
I think I was watching you circle through that one particular level.
There was just a bunch of chuck gates and stuff, like right off the bat. And like I just kept like I wanted to try it, and friend of the stream, Abe Lincoln, I was in his stream. Abe is a wonderful streamer, plays all of the best. He plays all the hacks, basically. If there's a new hack that people are talking about, Abe's going to play it. Abe's working on Grand Poo World 3 right now, which is the hack du jour that everyone's got to play. And I'm like, Abe, which hacks? Like, I'm sort of beginner/intermediate. And he's like, oh, you got to play Mycelium. And I'd watched Barb play it on his YouTube channel, And I thought, yeah, that seems like the one for me. It's really short. It's only 13 exits. So let's try it. And I mean, talk about just like shooting yourself in the foot. Like, I thought it'd be like, this will be a day or two. I'll get through this and then I'll go on to another game. It was 2 weeks streaming this game. I spent probably 5 hours on the final boss.
Wow. Yeah. That long?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like watching other people play the game, like they're getting through it in a couple hours. Mm-hmm. So it started me down this whole line of thinking, and I think I want to investigate this. It's like how much reaction time do you need to play these games, and how much have I lost since my 20s? Is my age affecting my gameplay at this point?
I mean, I don't think it would be detrimental to enjoying these games, but I think maybe there over time there's some natural, regression of like reaction time over time, but nothing good old practice couldn't solve.
I think that like if you can expect what's coming, you can react to it. But the problem is the boss fight, I couldn't expect what was coming because it was random phases, like random like phases,
random patterns.
Random patterns. There's so much RNG, and nothing that is severely bad, but like bad enough that like I really struggled because it really made me take a look at how I actually play these games. And I think how I play them is I rehearse the rhythm of it. And so it's just a bunch of like, it's like playing a musical instrument, playing this controller.
Gotcha.
So when I don't know how to react, it gets a little bit frustrating, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially that's the word of the day for me, frustrating.
Especially when it doesn't line up how you expect it to go based on what you've been practicing.
Yeah, and seeing other people play, the real lesson to learn is don't compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone's on their own path.
True.
But as someone who plays a lot of video games publicly, it's hard for me not to have a little bit of an ego about my skills. It's like, I want to be good at some point. I want people to see like some good gameplay, but maybe that's not what they're even into. Who knows?
Who knows? And I would say there's also, there's also the fact that there are a lot of the pro gamers that play these games and they're really good at them that you see and you kind of want to be like. A lot of those people have put like tens of hundreds of hours into doing this one thing and then get really good at that one thing because they put in all that work versus someone like you or me didn't put nearly as much time or had that much time to put into that, and that could be what shows.
So you think it's like just I haven't had enough hours playing these games?
Yeah, I think part of it, I don't know if it's 100%, but I think a good part of it is like dedication to practicing something like this and getting really good and putting the time in for it. It's in a way like speed running, just a different form of, dedication.
Yeah. Well, I have spent a lot of time playing these games, Kurt. I think one the last big hack I did, which was Akogari, I think that was 50 hours alone.
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean, sure, it's less than a lot of people, but I like these were some of the only games I played off stream before I started streaming, and like I feel like at this point I should be at least good, just sort of good,
Like I've never played a Kaizo game actually. Let me confess something right now to you.
Oh yeah.
So I see these games and I'm kind of intimidated by the Kaizo aspect of it. It's like,
right.
I mean, but I don't know how I'm going to do until I at least try it. So I'll probably have a lot more frustrating time with it than you is because you've played these games so long. There's a certain pattern that you kind of get into with them.
Well, somebody who was in my stream the other day is like, I watched you play a hack. I wanted to play some Kaizo. it took me 2 days to get past the first level. So I'm like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit validated.
Yeah, it gives you that much needed relief mentally that okay, I'm not as bad as I think I am.
Well, and selfishly, I'm not the worst.
Not the worst. No, not
like get good, scrub. Get on my level.
I mean, I probably will still say that just to screw with you.
Yeah. Have you played much like SMW, like vanilla SMW?
Yes, I did. I owned it. I still own it.
So I would love for you to maybe try like an intro to Kaizo thing and let me know how that goes.
I might need to try like a beginner's level Kaizo, just kind of get the feeling down for it. I am up for trying it.
There's some really good intro hacks. I learned on I would call it maybe about a bit outdated with the current meta, but there was one called Learn to Kaizo that Nexus made many years ago.
I think I've heard of that one.
And there's another one that Panga made called Kaizo Kindergarten.
I have not heard that one. I like the name though.
but maybe we'll find you a good intro one. Like Quickie World definitely is some place to start.
All right.
But yeah, let's take a bit of a break. I'm going to hit pause on the recording of this. Actually, I'm not recording, so I'll just have to get the VOD for this. Oopsie. Well, we're working out the kinks in this first episode. But right. We'll take a 3-minute break, and we'll come back, and Curb, you're going to talk about some F-Zero and some other stuff, and maybe you're going to convince me to buy Super Mario RPG Remake.
Right.
Okay, see you in 3 minutes, folks. All right, we are back, folks. Welcome back to the Retro Game Redux podcast. I almost misnamed our own bloody show.
Wow.
I'll tell you, I've been up since 5 doing. I had to finish some ad work. Writing music for ads is always a joy to do at 5 in the morning.
Wow. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. So Scoobs, you're not the only one who's been playing some Romhacks lately. I've actually been taking some time to play some Romhacks of my own that I've wanted to play for a while, and that's in the form of F-Zero Romhacks.
F-Zero Romhacks. I didn't know such a thing existed.
I did not either. But lately, some suggestions had been popping up on YouTube, and I got a little too curious. So I decided to check them out, and I was pretty amazed at some of the things that have been
right
featured on there.
So that's
how I decided to go down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
That's how you learned about that these existed, through YouTube.
Through YouTube, little random recommendations. Right. I'm like, because I had been looking up some strategies and tips and tricks on F-Zero 99. Because I'm hoping to, like, man, have I overlooked something with the mechanics and stuff? And we can talk more about F-Zero 99 later on.
Yeah, for those who don't know, what's F-Zero 99?
F-Zero 99 was recently released this year. It is a by Nintendo directly. It was developed by Nintendo directly. It is a 99-player battle royale F-Zero, in which you have all 15 of the original tracks. You play against 99 other people. It's in the same vein of the naming convention and schemes as like games like Tetris 99.
Yeah, I played a
Super
lot
Mario
of Tetris.
35. Yeah, same basic concept. But it's a lot different this time compared to those games, in which it's a lot more skill based, and I think it's for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about more of that in a little bit.
So what are these ROM hacks? How do they hack the game?
So there can be multiple different ways in which you hack a game. The most popular version of which is just simply adding new tracks to the game, fan-made tracks. Mm-hmm. I did test out a couple of those, and some of these ROM hacks also introduced different gameplay mechanic changes as well, and I'll delve into that a little bit too. The first one I checked out was F-Zero Parallel Dimension, which you are seeing on the screen right now.
It looks like F-Zero. Like as an F-Zero like Luddite, I have to confess I've barely played the original. Mm-hmm. What's different about this one?
Well, the definitely more challenging than the original game, that's for sure. So of course the immediate thing you're going to notice is the color palette. And that's kind of part of the lore, so to speak.
F-Zero has lore?
It does, surprisingly. Even the original, the game manual has different profiles for the 4 pilots.
Wow. I didn't even know there were 4 pilots.
Yep. So you had the Blue Falcon, the Golden Fox, the Wild Goose, and the Fire Stingray. And they are piloted by 4 different pilots. Yeah. So the purpose of this hack is that this game takes place in another dimension, and thus you have different colored sprites here. The Wild Goose, which I'm piloting, is kind of a greenish brown in color. The original is a brighter green. This
game is way too colorful. Let's just make things like
a lot of
army green.
So there's definitely a palette swap that's been put into the game.
Mm-hmm. Palette swap, new levels, any new mechanics?
Yes, there is. So it adds a drift mechanic that was kind of found in the Game Boy Advance games, the F-Zero Maximum Velocity games.
Oh, that's cool.
Where if you're turning, like, say, if you're turning left in the original game, you couldn't strafe right by pushing the shoulder buttons. In this game, you can. You can turn one direction and strafe in another direction. And that was added or inspired by mechanics in F-Zero Velocity or Max Velocity.
That's cool. I really want someone to now make an F-Zero meets Initial D mod.
I don't know. It could be in the works for now.
Are mountains possible in Layer 7? I guess not, eh?
No, unfortunately. The only thing that comes close to that are the jumps, as you'll see in this one. Yeah. But yeah, so with that, that's about the only gameplay mechanic change that there is, other than maybe some increased difficulty in the AI or the trollishness. Because if you see some of these cars that I'm running past, or the bumper cars, they're designed to kind of be an obstacle in your way.
Okay, yeah.
You got the four main cars that are the ranked ones, and then these bumper cars are designed to kind of troll you in a way too.
Oh, and wow! Some of them I just saw. Oh, these guys are spicy. I'm watching this gameplay.
Yeah, you see what I mean. Another thing that they've really added to the game, of course, is the 15 different tracks. Now, some of these are pretty short. Some of them pretty hilariously short, and then other tracks in the game are annoyingly long. So there's a bit of an imbalance in the track lengths. Usually in the original, there's a bit of a balance, but not so here.
And so what's the point of that? Is it just comedy?
I don't know. I think it's just like a kind of a giving you an intro to the to the game and tracks, and it just ups the difficulty with the length. Cool. I suppose that's what's happening here. Another thing that this thing, and this is a bit of a nitpick though, there is a bit of couple of negatives I noticed here. You see all those little dots on the track there, you're probably noticing? Yep. Those are what I call suffering from random crap on the track just for lulz syndrome.
It gives me nightmares. Flashbacks of playing Mach Rider.
They're basically putting the edge bumpers there that you see onto the middle of the track.
So that's just edge pieces.
Yeah, they're just edge pieces. Normally, if you touch the edge, you take damage, like slight damage. And they just put it in the middle of the track.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's kind of dumb in that.
Well, you're still in first in this playthrough, so it's testament to your extreme F-Zero prowess.
I've played for some time. Oh man, there are some moments where it's just difficult. And like I played on the standard difficulty here, and even that's still pretty hard. Even in the original. Now, yeah, there's also lots of rough terrain that slows you down. It's a lot more than it was in the original.
Right.
Yeah.
So, is there like a community around this? Is this where do you get these? Romhacking.net, I assume.
This is where I got all of these on romhacking.net. There's also a F-Zero online Discord community where you can actually play against other people online using different clients and stuff,
like Parsec or NetPlay or
NetPlay is basically using NetPlay for stuff like this, and I think you can also incorporate Romhacks into racing as well.
That's so cool. I really want to get NetPlay. As an aside, I really want to get NetPlay to finally work. That's maybe a 24 goal. Parsec works really well, I find, but I've never managed to successfully get NetPlay to work on my retro.
Yeah, and this is the F-Zero online, like where you can play against other people, is done via clients and inside an emulator and stuff.
So any online races so far?
No, I haven't tried that yet. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do that yet.
Right. But F-Zero 99, I'm sure you're in there.
Yeah, I've won 2 races so far. I've got 2 wins under my belt. A lot more than other people have. Yeah.
F-Zero is Maximus.
Yes.
Awesome.
So the next mod that I did was called F-Zero Nebula Highway.
Uh-huh.
And so this basically is more so focused on the tracks themselves. And these are some of the most difficult tracks I think I have ever played in an F-Zero. Yeah, these are the difficulty of this mod is the tracks themselves.
Yeah. So it's like Kaizo F-Zero.
It almost is Kaizo F-Zero. A lot of the tracks are like get freakishly narrow. And very trolly on the gimmicks of the track. Like there are certain mechanics that have that magnetic properties that pull you into the wall that borrowed from the original game, and that takes that up to a new level.
Let me ask you, like, because I'm curious, because maybe there's some parallels here with my like Kaizo Mario fetish, I guess you'd call it. So you're someone who's played a lot of F-Zero.
A decent amount, I would say. Yes,
you're pretty good at the game. Now, when you play a super challenging hack like Nebula Highway, is it sort of like, there's the delay of gratification kind of thing, instant gratification, and a bit of frustration. Now, is it rewarding ultimately, or how did you find that experience playing something that's brutally difficult?
I did not find Nebula Highway really rewarding in the end. And I say this because some of the tracks are borderline unfair. Normal tracks and mods that I've played have the recharge zone at the beginning of the track or somewhere along the track. There's a place where you can recharge your power. This game has some tracks where there's only a single little patch of recovery, and especially the Whiteland tracks 1 and 2, there's like a single player size square in a corner on these tracks, and that's the only place where you can recharge. So if you have to use it, you're sitting in the corner like a dunce going to timeout in the classroom.
So you have to stop just to recharge?
Yeah, you have to stop just to recharge. It's so unfair. And the track itself is still brutally difficult. Yeah, and you have to keep on your toes. Like, it's so horrible.
Even at Mario, Mario Romhacks worst, you're still moving.
Yeah.
You're still jumping. Maybe you're dying every half a second or whatever, but
yeah, pretty much.
You don't have to stop and wait.
It also takes the randomness that you kind of saw in like Parallel Dimension, and it ramps it up. Like it's kind of dumb,
right?
It's like, what's the point of playing this if it's just going to be that? It's not. It doesn't feel rewarding,
right? So maybe
like,
a bit too try hard.
Then hey, you get a reward, but it's like you're struggling as you're playing this.
Right.
Like, I'm not having the best time with this. I'm giving it my all, but I am not having a good time.
Oh, that sounds familiar. That sounds like every game I ever play.
And again, my experience isn't going to be the same as someone else's, mind you.
And I guess that's the point, right?
Yeah.
The point of this is that, some of them, like, you're an F-Zero enthusiast, and no one can ever take that away from you, but you have tastes, and they differ from everyone else. Were these the only 2 you played? Is there any more?
I played one more.
Okay.
And this is the most unique one. This is F-Zero Beginnings. You remember how I mentioned these bumper cars that you kind of see as that you have to get past? You get to play as them in this game, in this mod.
Oh, no way. So you're blocking.
No, you're playing. Think of it as the pre-sequel to like the original F-Zero. You're playing as these prototype bumper cars, and they're all the same. They're different colors, mind you. And this one was the most goofy as well, because only one of the two are like viable in terms of any kind of racing.
Sure.
The other two are jokes. The purple car was probably the most drivable that I could, and then there was the green one that functioned more like a wild goose or fire stingray in terms of their mechanics.
What's the advantage to it then?
Okay, so let me give you a brief breakdown.
Okay,
Blue Falcon, which is not the one I'm racing in. The Blue Falcon is the more balanced overall. As far as stats go, top speed, maneuverability, power, shields.
Sure.
And then the Golden Fox is pure acceleration, lowest top speed, okay handling, and smaller shields. Wild Goose can take a lot of punishment, has high shields, second highest speed, but second slowest acceleration. And then Fire Stingray is the highest top speed, but the slowest acceleration, and probably some of the best handling. So each car has their strengths. So the purple beginner car functions more like Blue Falcon, and then the green one functions more like Wild Goose. The yellow one has a top speed of about half to 2/3 the top speed of anything else, like 200 something kilometers per hour.
Okay, so they all have different stats.
The red one is a one hit and you're dead no matter what it is.
Wow.
That's the joke car.
Wow.
You hit a racer, you hit the edge, you hit, anything that gives you damage, boom, you're dead.
So like I'm assuming there's a YouTube video of somebody using that car and just never taking damage.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Someone's got a lot more talent for that than I would. But here's the also fun thing about beginnings. It also limits you in other ways. So all the cars overall have a more fragile and smaller shield.
Okay.
So even in the best cars in this mod, you still have a smaller shield overall.
Yeah.
The boosts that you have in the original F-Zero, they're halved in this mod.
Okay,
like you're
so
only
less
getting
boost,
like half the time of a boost.
Yeah, less boost, less shield. And how does that affect your gameplay?
It affects it significantly, I found. Like you have to be very tactical in how you use your boosts, and you have to be very technical on how you're steering. Because I think the cars overall are also a little bit sluggish in terms of their handling as well. They're not as maneuverable as the original. It's somewhat noticeable.
And this is to serve the lore that it's a prototype.
It's the prototypes basically. You get to race just those bumper cars.
Like this is the evolution of Mario Kart, and it's sort of like Mario Kart is like some sort of primitive kind of like cave racers,
right.
And then this is the sort of slightly more advanced futuristic thing, and then Nebula is just, as crazy as you could imagine.
Oh, and pray to God you don't get bumped during a turn in these cars, because you will go flying, like even more than you would in the original.
But here's the ultimate question: was it fun?
Yes, absolutely was fun. Because for one, it did use the original tracks. It was more of a gameplay mod than it was a track mod.
Interesting. So they kept original tracks, and it's just different vehicle styles and capabilities.
Yeah. So it changed. The gameplay itself changed the way how you approach the tracks, and I thought that was also really refreshing to see happen. So it was just so fun. Trying, like I was doing a test of each of the different cars, and like everyone felt okay. And I was on the floor for like 2 minutes laughing my butt off, and I saw the pink one, and then I set it out, and then ran to a wall accidentally and just exploded. I was not, I wasn't expecting it. It caught me so off guard.
I really love. Have you watched many Super Mario 64 ROM hacks?
No, actually, I have not.
Please watch the great Simple Flips play through user submitted troll hacks in Super Mario 64, because like some of them, I was watching him play one where, okay, so you could Mario appears amidst the most beautiful user created world you've ever seen. Like there's a waterfall, and then there's like a big spaceship off in the distance, and like a crazy dragon on the side of a mountain. But every single piece of the floor kills you instantly. So like,
wow.
The joke is you just have to go in this one pipe, like, because there's 6 stars to collect, but they're all just like in the initial pipe. You just go down the pipe and collect the 6 stars. And the joke is that like this is the most beautiful level you've ever seen. You can't play it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So overall, did F-Zero did the F-Zero ROM hacks tickle your F-Zero itch?
It tickled it a good bit. I want to explore more of these ROM hacks that are out there. Like this definitely was a great intro for me into the different ranges. Mm-hmm. I've seen some more on YouTube. I do want to try. I can't name them off the top of my head. But perhaps in a future episode, we definitely can talk about that.
Well, I heard a rumor you might be streaming again soon. So if that happens, definitely please play some of those.
Yes, I'll have to do that. Definitely. That's something I will be doing soon. Down the line, I'll be streaming up again. It's been about 7 months since I last streamed. So I need to get back in the game on that. So
tonight is sort of one foot in the game. We're streaming.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get to this main event here. Like, I would consider this the main topic of today, because this is so thematic for our show, because our show is all about how old games get repurposed, get remade, recontextualized based on, how people play the game, and just mean different things to different people over time. And I'm just so fascinated at like the evolution of what never meant to last this long. So one of those games, one of the biggest re-releases, remasters of the year was Super Mario RPG.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
man, I have been looking forward to this one for some time. I freaked out when I saw the announcement. I never thought this game would ever see the light of day again, other than random Wii Shop purchases and whatnot.
Yeah,
because it was an almost impossible collaboration back then with Square.
Okay, and I'd love to get into that. I want to start with this. Like, this is I would like to define the premise of this segment.
Okay,
I am someone. Because sorry for relating it back to me so soon. I played 3 years ago. I'd never touched an RPG up until like June of 2020. The first one I played was Chrono Trigger, and the next one I played, I believe, was Final Fantasy VII, and then shortly after, Super Mario RPG. What is it? Legend of the Seven Stars.
Legend of the Seven Stars.
Yeah. So I think it is, for somebody who is coming into turn-based RPGs, that's probably the one I should have started with, because it's such a good intro to turn-based combat. Like, I think it's great for kids as your first turn-based RPG. And so I had a lovely time playing that game. Like, smiles all around. A couple just like kind of BS parts of it, and then one secret boss fight that I loved. Like I thought it was like, I still think it's one of the coolest boss fights ever. The secret Kulex boss.
The Kulex, yeah.
So here's my question to you. I played the game 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Why in the heck would I spend 80 Canadian dollars to buy it again? I played it for free for the first time. So, maybe you can convince me, because I do have a Nintendo voucher.
Okay.
And maybe I will spend it on Super Mario RPG, and maybe I won't.
Ooh.
But I would love to hear the case for purchasing the remaster from the fan, from a super fan of the game,
from the fanboy
who pre-ordered it. Right off the bat.
Day one. I pre-ordered it day one.
Yeah. So let's talk about the history of that game. Tell me about what you called an impossible collaboration.
Okay. So this was like I said earlier, this was a collaboration between Square Enix, or Square back then, and Nintendo. There were completely original characters created for this game. The two ones prominent, of course, being Mallow and Gino, among others. And it took, Square took the RPG element that they knew and, had been doing for so long.
They pioneered, basically.
They pioneered it, yeah. And then they took Nintendo characters and crafted this loving original story.
Right.
Yeah. And after that, we thought we were going to get an immediate sequel because it was just so good. And then nothing. And then the only thing successor-wise was like the Paper Mario series.
Paper Mario series. And was Paper Mario a Nintendo creation, or was there a third party that helped with that game as well?
I think there was a third party that helped with that. Alpha Dreams? No, I think that was the Mario and Luigi series with Alpha Dream.
Like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga?
Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story. That's Alpha Dream. I can't remember if there was a collaboration on that or not.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not. It feels like not like pure Nintendo, though. Like pure Nintendo to me is like Zelda and the 2D and 3D Mario games. They just feel so uniquely Nintendo. And this one definitely does not feel like that pure Nintendo thing, because
no.
the characters are a little differently animated, and there's different mechanics. And I like, Nintendo doesn't really do turn-based, like even Pokemon is Game Freak, right?
Yeah, Game Freak is definitely Pokemon.
Yeah. And why don't you think we got another got a sequel to that?
I think the reason was due to the existence of the PlayStation and the fact that Square opted to go with the PlayStation instead of Nintendo for future Final Fantasy RPGs. And so that collaboration, that partnership was fractured as a result of that.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I could see how Nintendo would be like, fine, we'll build our own RPG.
Yeah, pretty much.
With whiskey and strippers.
Right. We really haven't seen a full mainline Final Fantasy on a Nintendo console since then.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of sour grapes that is until I guess they work together to bring Cloud and Sephiroth to Smash. Right. But I think it had more to do with Sakurai than anything else. I'd like to suspect.
And what became of Gino and Mallow? Like I don't, were they in future games?
Gino appeared in a I think Mario and Donkey Kong game as like a side character or a cameo. Mallow hasn't appeared in a Super Mario game or anything like that since. So I think Mallow hasn't been seen until now again.
Wow.
He looks so adorable.
Okay, so you got the game. I'm assuming, have you finished it yet?
Yeah, I finished the game.
And let me get your initial thoughts on the game.
So if I went into this thinking it was going to be a beautiful remake, beautiful graphics, everything that made this game, I went into it thinking that the game was going to be just as wonderful as it was back then, as if now, not expecting it to be exactly the same, not expecting it. I expected there to be some changes. What I got was everything that I asked for in a remake like this. Any time that there was a change I noticed, I understood the reason why. Got to add a little bit of extraness to some of the things. One example is the Midas River run. I don't know if you remember that, with all the barrels and going down the waterfall.
Yeah,
and then going
I
into
remember
the
that.
course.
Like, it seemed like there were a bunch of, sections like that in the game that just seemed like just kind of like just a refreshing change from the turn-based thing, and just like, here's a little kind of almost mini game.
Yeah.
And I do remember it. Yeah, I kind of had fun with that one.
Yeah, they added a little bit of a mechanic to the barrel run, where the fish came from behind instead of always at the front. So they added that, and that was unexpected. I'm like, oh shoot, what's going on? Oh, that's new. Oh, that's kind of cool though.
Okay, let's talk about unexpected versus expected, because you had expectations. What were the expectations? Which ones were met, and which ones weren't?
As far as met, I expected them to maybe simplify the turn-based a little bit more. What we got was that and more. In fact, it's a lot more beginner friendly to people who have never played the game and don't understand the hint mechanics. They give you hints on when to press a button.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, so there's a little, like, an exclamation that pops up, but it's not going to pop up for you all the time. This is what I loved about it. Once you start getting the times down, that prompt goes away once you start getting it. But once you start slipping up again, it'll pop back, kind of a gentle reminder. Hey, this is when you press it. Don't forget. It's
scaling difficulty. That's pretty cool.
It rescales the times when it pops up or not. Same thing with defenses. There's also if you remember, there's a timed defense.
Yep.
And that also has the same prompt as you're seeing right here.
Right. So Peach went to hit with the pan or whatever, and there was a little exclamation point that
tells you when to hit it again. Exactly. Another thing that they added was area of effect damage with attacks. Like, if you get perfectly timed, then it will damage not just the enemy you're hitting, but everything else.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, so if you had some problems with some difficulties, like big groups of enemies ganging up on you, this makes it a bit easier. So this version of the game is easier than it has been in the past. But I think it's a wonderful way to do it for those who have never played it, who never played it back then. It may seem too easy for some, but I think that's going to be part of the charm. It's meant to be fun and wacky and goofy, and I think it's this scaling. It's not, doesn't necessarily hold your hand. It rewards your persistence in getting things right, but it helps you if you're struggling.
I like that. I think that more games should do that.
I think more games should do that too. It didn't give me the option to turn off that I was looking for, but I wouldn't be surprised if games like this were to adopt something like that later on.
Like
but
a
I think it was
mode,
really cool.
sort of.
Yeah, there is a boss rush mode. I haven't played that yet, but I hear the boss rush mode.
Yep.
And this is an after game. You got to beat the game first. Is insanely difficult, and this is for the hardcore players.
I mean, that sounds like a good way to get more out of your game. Let's talk about the graphics. Like, I'm looking at this, and I love that they kept the isometric look.
Yes, that was a core part of the game, and it's lovingly recreated.
Yeah.
It's great. I have no complaints about this. It feels perfect.
It was like, so many of the levels were designed around that, with like hiding stuff and like trying to figure out where to jump properly to hit the thing above you. but also like, we've come a long way since isometric 3D, and
Exactly.
yeah, it's interesting that they didn't that they kept it. But I'm super glad. So that seems to have worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
What about the music?
The music is also lovingly recreated in this game. Yoko Shimomura, who was the original composer, came back for the game and recreated her score for this game. The wonderful thing about this is you can actually switch between the classic version, as it was in the original game, or the modern version. I believe at will. You can do that in the options. You have the choice.
Super
cool. So if you like how it sounds in the original and not how it's recreated, then you have that option. I think that was a wonderful thing to do. I will say the score redone is wonderful. I played it that way the whole game.
Have they increased because the one thing I'll say about the music, I love the music, but I found the battle music to be super repetitive. Have they added like more variation or anything, or is it just sort of?
It's sort of the same. Yeah. It's as it was in the original, but I think for me it was a lot more bearable. Like it was just fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Because there were some tracks in the original that just seemed repetitive after a while and kind of annoying after a while. But I think with the instrumentation I think with the instrumentals that they have with the remake, I think it makes it a lot easier to listen to. Yeah, so, it's great.
So do you think it sounds like they were able to preserve the charm of the original game?
They really are. They've actually added a little bit more charm.
Yeah.
Perfect example is the level up screen. That's probably one of my favorite parts of this game. The level up screen is usually in the original. It used to be like the single character popped out of a pipe, and you go from there. In the remake, everyone is gathered that you have in your party, and they're all dancing, and it's so adorably cute.
I hope we get to see that.
Mallow is the dance king. He is the adorable dance king. So yeah, when your character is being highlighted and you're going for the different you're going through the different motions of leveling up, every other character is dancing. It's kind of a sidestep kind of dance, but it's all done cute. Every one of the characters has a different way that they're doing the dance, and it's great. It's so charming. They added so much charm to it.
Like, I feel like I want to get this game for my two nephews as their first turn-based RPG.
It would be a wonderful introduction.
Yeah.
It would be the perfect game to introduce them to the game to something like this.
Still just single player, right?
Yeah, it is still single player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That hasn't changed.
Yeah. I mean, that just makes sense. I mean, you're really going to change that. Yeah. So anything that you didn't expect or expected and then were disappointed in?
That's a good question. Part of me wishes they could have added some voices to the game. Like for some of the, one of the cutscenes, especially, is the introduction of Mallow. When you first get to the Mushroom Kingdom, they do have like a full cutscene where he's introduced, whereas it's kind of done in game in the original. And it's all subtitled. There's mouth movements or subtitles. I mean, I wish there was some voicing that could have been done.
Nintendo could Nintendo though, right?
Yeah, it could have been. That may just be more of a nitpick, and kind of keeping to the original spirit of it all. I mean, it also probably wouldn't make sense because Mario doesn't talk in this game. It's all done pantomime with how he describes the story and the events during the game to other people.
Yeah. If you ask me, I'm glad they didn't do that. Just because, I guess it's one of the most fun parts. Oh, they have the Yoshi race in here. That's cool.
Yes, the Yoster Isle is still there. It's lovely recreated.
But what I always love about I guess it's just streaming the games. I love to do the voice acting. Like it's just fun for me to make up all these stupid voices for everyone. And I love that Mario doesn't talk in this.
Yeah, you get that was one of my that was one of the more hilarious parts of the game, and I'm so happy that they kept that. They didn't need to change it, and they kept to their word. They kept to the heart of it on that.
Okay, well, I want you to give me your pitch for why I should purchase this game, or do you think I should even purchase this game after just playing it for the first time 3 years ago? Is it worth 80 Canadian dollars?
Is it worth 80 Canadian dollars?
Which is like maybe $3 American dollars.
maybe not. Because I would say this: it's wonderfully recreated. It adds so much charm.
Yeah.
But it doesn't add too much to 100% justify its cost. I mean, things have definitely been redesigned. You know, the menus have been redesigned. Some additions, but I don't know if it's 100% something worth purchasing. But if you really want to experience the joy of this game, that's something, you know, and you want your nephews to enjoy it, then I would say yes, purchase this definitely.
Yeah.
If you want to introduce someone to this who has never played a game like this, 100% it's worth it. But as for someone who has played it for years, well, I thought it was worth it. For someone, if you've already played it recently, I can't 100% justify that.
So, well executed, lovingly recreated and updated for modern consoles.
Yes.
At this price point, possibly just a nostalgia cash grab. So I'll do what I do for every one of these types of games. I'll wait till it goes on sale for $40.
Okay.
And then I'll buy it because
if it goes on sale, pick it up for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to save my voucher for maybe the Princess Peach game that comes next year. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm going to spend it on. But thanks for taking me through that. Like
you're welcome.
I loved hearing you talk about that game. Like it sounds like, you know, it was such a treat for you to play through it again with a fresh coat of paint and new bells and whistles and stuff.
Yeah, this is something that I will replay down the line for years to come. This was a very very wonderful job done by Nintendo. And there was another developer that helped on this game. I forget the name off the top of my head, but props to them. They've recaptured the spirit of this game in all its entirety. And I am so glad that this remake exists.
Amazing. Anything else you want to talk about today, Curb? As we sort of maybe think about wrapping it up, is there anything we haven't covered?
I do want to talk about one other thing, and that would be the most recent Game Awards that happened a couple of days ago.
Man.
3. Yeah.
Some amazing, like, holy crap moments revealed. I mean,
right.
You know, I'm obviously super excited about the Infinite Wealth, the new Yakuza, the RGG game.
The Yakuza, yes. I'm actually looking somewhat forward to that.
And they revealed Kiryu's bucket list. So Kiryu has cancer in this game.
Yep.
And they've made no secret of that. Like that's not that's where they start.
The plot point. It's a plot point.
He has cancer. And so what they revealed over the Game Awards is a bucket list sort of side game where I guess this is how they're framing Kiryu's sub-stories, is where he's, you know, tying up as many loose ends with people from his past as possible. So that's just the where it started. That was the first thing I was excited about. The second thing I was very excited about is to see Sea of Stars take Best Indie Game this year.
Yes. It's not every day you get to see retro-styled games, you know, take Game Awards. And I'm so glad. It's a very well-deserved indie game.
I backed
it. You know, even though it's published by like Devolver Digital, big publishing, the studio behind it also did The Messenger. It takes place in the same universe as The Messenger. Yeah. Sabotage Studios, yes. They're a pretty small group, so this is a very well-deserved win. I expected something else to win, like to kind of steal it from them, but I was very happy to see that they won indie game of the year.
Have you played it yet?
No, it's on my bucket. It's on my bucket list. Yeah. Speaking of bucket list, it's on my bucket list to play. Like, I've kept my eye on it since it was first announced. I just haven't had the time to really play that lately, and that's something I need to purchase and get.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it on stream or off, but it's looking like off, to be honest. I'm not sure, but yeah, great job. I just love that a love letter to Chrono Trigger is still viable in today's gaming climate, you know?
I love me some Chrono Trigger. Yeah, okay. For sure.
But let's get to what we both really want to talk about here. Because Sega. Yeah.
Sega.
So let me give you a bit of backstory. I got an email for fan feedback from Sega about a year ago.
Yeah.
And it said, what Sega games do you play? And I'm like, Yakuza, a bit of Sonic. And they're like, okay, well, what Sega characters do you love and whatever? And I'm like, well, Shinobi is so awesome. They're like, what games would you like to bring back? And I said, you need to do a new Shinobi game, a new Streets of Rage game, a new Golden Axe game, and a new Jet Set Radio game. 100%. Those are the four, and it's like they read my letter and probably, thousands other just like it, and
just for you, Scoobs.
Yeah, and dropped that incredible teaser at the Game Awards. Where like, we are developing new games for those exact franchises.
Yep. For those who didn't see the trailer, specifically Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi. I wasn't expecting Crazy Taxi.
I'm wondering.
And they also said there will be more.
One. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about your experience. Were any of those part of your sort of comeuppance as a gamer?
About the only one that I really, played a little bit of. I didn't play a whole lot of Sega games, but the one that kind of stood out to me, it's like, I've played that before, was Golden Axe.
Oh yeah, classic. Like
I didn't own it, but I played it with friends. Like I had some friends who were, had a Genesis. I was a Nintendo kid,
right?
But I had friends who had Genesis, and we played some Golden Axe.
Mm-hmm. I think I played it in the arcade. I'm pretty sure there was an arcade version of it.
Golden Axe was in the arcades back in the day.
Yeah. And I never played the Genesis version.
Pretty much all of these games, except for I think Jet Set Radio, all of these had arcade releases before consoles.
And it took the sort of concept of a brawler and like Streets of Rage, and then added some like sort of leveling mechanics, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with that. I didn't really get a memorable look, at least, of what that game looked like in the few frames. But did you see the slight reveal of what the Shinobi game looks like?
No, I didn't. I haven't done a frame by frame to kind of see that.
Well,
so why don't you go ahead and tell me?
Much like Wonder, I think what they did was they took something that the fans loved, which is The Messenger, which was so many people's game of the year when it came out, like an amazing love letter to Shinobi. And
it's still one of my favorite games, The Messenger.
Yeah, and no, like no secret of its direct influence by the Shinobi games. And Sega's like, wait a minute. That's our IP. Why don't we just make that game?
Right.
So it looks a lot like The Messenger from what I've seen.
Nice.
And I'm super happy about that. I feel like Shinobi has a different vibe than The Messenger, where it's more like, it's more about the ninja side of it. Like, you're dealing with enemies. It's more about the combat, and but also like the stealth. Platforming stealth, like you're hanging from a railing, and then you're dropping down at the right moment, and I cannot wait to play a new Shinobi game, but also a new Streets of Rage game.
Yeah, so I'm curious about, look, going back to Shinobi for a second here. I was wondering if it was going to go the route of like Strider. Have you seen the modern release of Strider on Steam?
I haven't. No. When did
that
come out?
That came out, I think, 2017, 2018 or something like that.
Interesting.
It's
on what platform?
I got it on PC. I think it was released on like PlayStation 4 as well. Yep. It's 2D? Very modern. Yeah, it's a 2.5D. It's a very modern look. It functions in a way like a Metroidvania.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there's you can re-explore different parts of a map, and get different powers and upgrades and stuff like that to progress through different parts of the game.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I've been playing that. I haven't finished it, but I think that I was thinking, man, is that what Shinobi's going to go to? Is going to have its own, kind of identity, but have a modern, look to it, like they did with Strider.
That would be super cool.
Right.
The thing that I'm wondering is the Streets of Rage game looks very like 3D modeled.
I was thinking that that's what they were going to go with, because we've already had so many modern releases of new titles in the Streets of Rage lineup. I think 4 was or 5 was the most recent release.
It's 4. It's just 4.
Okay.
Unless there's another one that I'm forgetting, but 4 like had such a unique, cartoon sort of like style.
Yeah.
I've played so much Streets of Rage 4 that I cannot see that as not the canonical version at this point. Like, I've spent hours and hours and hours doing the survival mode and just playing through the story with non-gamers. I'm like, this is the most fun you'll ever have. A brawler on easy mode. You can't lose.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, they've already had these mainline releases. What are they going to do differently this time, for a new Streets of Rage? And so it looks like I kind of nailed, that prediction kind of nailed on the head for me. So yeah. So
very
you
cool.
and I had the same, thinking on that. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So, and what's the other one? Jet Set Radio, I think, is going to be the crown jewel in that. Like they know how many people have been waiting for a new Jet Set game, or even just an old Jet Set game to be playable on a modern system.
Yeah. Like, one thing I hope they bring back Hideki Naganuma for the soundtrack, because that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's a phenomenal soundtrack.
Yeah, it really is. Like and it's funny how soundtracks just exploit the tools of the time to their greatest sort of potential that game developers don't even understand. And so just all this, like the power of the Xbox to play samples and like that game is fully like there's so many. And not just the game in-game music, but how that music is created. It was all created on like MPCs and stuff, so it's very sample based to the point where I'm wondering if there was some issues with clearing some of those samples for a re-release. But what can you say?
This is going to be a re-release because definitely Japan's laws on.
Oh no. I know, it's not going to be a re-release, but like maybe that's why a lot of like the two games haven't made it to modern consoles.
Yeah, darn Japanese licensing issues and stuff like that. Like, it's a wonder Sakurai got smashed to get all the characters like he did. That was a nightmare for paperwork.
Oh geez.
So a sequel works definitely in Sega's favor for something like that.
Mm-hmm. Did you play a lot of the OG?
I have not. I have not played the original at all.
Yeah.
And here's the dumb part. I have a copy of it. I just haven't played it. I have the Xbox copy.
You know what? Same. Same. I bought a copy to play on the Xbox that I found at Value Village for $10. I refurbished it. I recapped the thing. And I spent money on a copy of Jet Set Radio / Sega GT 2000, whatever it is. And just like, all right, well, I'm eventually going to play that game right after I play the dozens of other retro games that I absolutely have needed to play for the last 20 years.
Well, we're just letting our shame hang out for not playing that game for sure.
Everyone has their list of game shame, I think.
So
we've even done a whole episode on that.
So do you think Crazy Taxi is going to be a remake or a sequel? I think it's going to be a sequel.
I don't think any of these are just straight remakes. I think there's, the appeal to Crazy Taxi when it came out was like, here's a really fast driving, like insano driving game in 3D. And like that for the late 90s, early 2000s, that's just enough. It's like people just like, they want to be encouraged to do the thing that they were doing wrongly in every other driving game, which is just like, run people over, make wrong turns, go the wrong way, crazy jumps. Like it seems like the logical extension of, did you ever play a game called Stunts?
No, I didn't.
Oh man, you gotta look up Stunts.
I've definitely heard of it. Yeah.
Stunts was a game that I played the shit out of on PC when it first came out. It was like late 80s, early 90s, I think. And it was like you'd had a track builder with loop-de-loops and like,
oh wow,
these insano jumps that you could make. You could make the craziest jump. Like,
is it a 3D or a 2D?
It's a 3D game, but like like a very badly 3D game. Like runs at about 4 frames per second.
Oh Jesus! Wait a second. Was that like the like Star Fox like graphics?
Yeah,
like the simple.
Exactly.
I have played it. Never mind. I have played it.
Isn't it awesome though?
It's awesome. Like I wanted to keep going, but man, yeah, I could definitely. Once you said 4 FPS, and like, wait a second, my neurons are activating. Something's up here.
Only so many games. Tick that box.
Now, Crazy Taxi. You got to have Offspring. You got to have Offspring on the soundtrack. Come on,
you need a little
Sega, make it happen. So with those announced, there wasn't also another added to this. So there's going to be more coming
from Sega.
From Sega, there's more that was going to be coming.
And just more, not like no franchise titles
yet. Nothing specific announced. So, which leads me to a question here. What other games would you like to see Sega make sequels for?
Thanks for asking. I have some opinions on this.
I would love to hear them.
I absolutely think that they need to do another Fantasy Zone game.
Fantasy Zone? Okay.
There was one that they brought out for Sega 60 when they had their 60th anniversary. And it was maybe 1 or 2 levels. But you were the Opa just in this modern sort of 2.5D kind of thing. I thought it was really fun to play that. And like, you couldn't get very far in it, but like, I love Fantasy Zone. I think it's such a classic, like, one of the first sort of pseudo bullet hell kind of, shmups.
Nice.
With a leveling system, and I love the shop. I love the cuteness of the music and stuff. It'd be really cool if there was like sort of an RPG kind of, like take that concept and make it an ARPG shmup. But
interesting.
Cute. Cute. I think that would be amazing. I really think that an Outrun game would be amazing. A new Outrun.
I don't know if maybe Outrun would be the best candidate, I think, because they've already come out with a somewhat recent, I think it was like PS3 or Xbox 360. It was like
2006, or maybe 2008.
Yeah, there was a release of an Outrun game, But I mean, there could very well be.
Because Outrun isn't so much a racing game as it's a driving game with a timer.
That's true. Kind of an obstacle avoidance kind of game,
absolutely, too. And I really loved that mechanic of Outrun. And I still like whenever I go to a barcade, Outrun is the first thing I look for.
Nice.
Every time. It's Outrun, and then I want to play the Simpsons 4-player beat 'em up.
Oh man, that's such a fun game. Yeah. One game that I think would have a realistic chance, like if they're redoing Shinobi, why not also do a sequel to Altered Beast?
Oh, interesting.
Right? And have some maybe some 2.5D or 3D mechanics.
Yeah.
I think that could do really well.
Have you played Altered Beast in the last little while?
I have a long time ago. I did play Altered Beast.
But like recently?
No, not recently.
I don't think it holds up. I gotta say, I played it with good friend Jimmy Chonga.
Okay.
And it's fun for a laugh, but it just seems like a really primitive, like they're just figuring out how to use this engine. And I really like how it's kind of the most vaporwave game of all time. Like there's all this like Greek sort of imagery.
And inspiration.
Yeah. It'd be cool if like maybe they could do something a little more, meta 3D, kind of take that concept and go somewhere with it. But I really think, Sega's realized that they need to use the power of their IP, and it's not just Sonic, and you can only do so much with Sonic. And it, you're crazy to ignore franchises like Shinobi and Golden Axe.
Okay.
Well,
Well, what? Okay, so let me ask you this then. What would be the games that would be like a pipe dream? Like, what would be your picks for like games you really think that Sega should make a sequel for?
Like something that I know they will never make.
But yeah, why? You might as well put it out there. Why not?
My favorite game for the Master System for the longest time when I was a kid was My Hero. Have you ever played My Hero?
No, I've not.
It's the most repetitive, yet like just ridiculously brutally hard game. And you're just okay, so it's the classic, guy punches you at the beginning of the level and takes your girlfriend, just kidnaps your girlfriend, and you have to, as you do in every other of these games, you fight for your right to walk to the right.
Fight for your right to party.
Yeah. And there's guys that throw bottles at you, and it's just a simple sort of beat 'em up / platformer. But I thought it was really fun, and it had the most repetitive soundtrack of all time. But I think My Hero would be sweet. And I also think if they could take Transbot and turn that into something that's more than just 2 levels over and over again, that'd be really fun.
Nice.
Yeah. Any ones that you would love for them to, any franchises of Sega that you'd love for them to revisit?
I have one, especially in particular. And have you ever heard of Virtual On?
Yeah, I played it in Yakuza. It's a like a fighting game, right?
I would love to see them do a modern take on it.
Right.
And maybe not go in the realm of like Armored Core, for really stick to its arcade roots. It's kind of a fighting game more than it is like a mech fighting game.
So more of a Street Fighter type thing, like.
Yeah, but I mean, keeping it to original elements. I think having that style of fighting, keeping to those roots, I think in a modern, with modern graphics and capabilities, I think would do really well.
I would love to see that, because I thought that was a really fun of all the stupid arcade games that you have to play in Yakuza to get your plat. Like that was one of the most fun. Curb, I think we should wrap it up. We're about to hit another ad break, so let's maybe coast off into the sunset before that happens. And
alrighty.
What a great show! And I'm so glad we decided to do this live.
Yes, I really had a good time. Thanks to everyone coming in.
Yeah, thank you
so
much.
We really do appreciate it.
All the raids we got a Jaycox raid and an Italian Grandma raid. And
Heck
thank you,
yeah.
Ashley May, for the Prime sub.
That's one of my best friends in the world. Yep.
Well,
thanks, Ashley, for coming in.
So
we appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks so much. So let's just get out of here. I'm going to play we're not going to rate. I'm just going to play the intro again, and then we're going to call it a podcast. Episode 14.
Please, guys, do subscribe to our YouTube channel, so that we so you're subscribed for when we start uploading and streaming on YouTube. And also go to RGR Podcast on Twitch. If we decide to do our shows on there, we do have that available for you. So thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you
for
Curb.
Our first live show. And thank you, Scoobs.
All right. We'll see you soon, folks. Take care.
All right.
Keep on gaming.